Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. What prompted you to go undercover and investigate this story?
So the people that I work with, some people that I work with came to me and told me that this is happening, and it was unbelievable. We thought, if it's something that is truly happening, then why don't we investigate and see the reality of this and find out the who's involved and what's happening, and is it possible that these girls can be rescued?
So, girls as young as 13 years old are made to sell sex. How do they get hold of these girls?
So, as per my story, I met four girls who told me how they got into the sex trade. And they all ran away from home when they were young, when they were 12, 13, 14. They were running away from different situations in their families. One was running away because they wanted, she overheard her parents saying that she was going to be circumcised. Another one ran away because her parents were they'd come home drunk and demand that they beat up food and should be really beaten up. One left home because her parents died and she was called a cursed child, so she was thrown out into the streets. And another one left because when her parents died as well, her uncle was molesting her. So she just left. So all these girls come into the streets when they're underage, seeking for refuge, seeking for a way to make a to find how they can get on with their lives and run away from the troubles from home. Then they find these older women who take them in as though, like a mother would, take them in and they find refuge, so to speak, because they'll be fed, they'll be clothed, and maybe even taken to school or at least taken care of, like a child would expect. Only turns out that they are prepared to go and sell their bodies in the streets. They're not paid directly. The women, the mothers, are the ones who get the money for the sex work that they do. These madams are the ones who also get the clients, take them to a hotel or take them wherever it is that they will meet their clients. Then they will bring them back, pick them up after the work has been done. So that's how these girls find themselves in the streets. By the time I'm telling this story, these girls are now of age. So they're reflecting and telling me what happened when they left home and how they got into the streets and into this trade.
Is there a certain profile to these girls that end up becoming victims of sex trafficking? You do mention it's girls who are, of course, they would be vulnerable because if you're running from home, you have nowhere else to go. But from poverty stricken homes, also dysfunctional families, it seems, in other parts, as well as those who've been sexually molested before.
Yeah, I think that's what struck me the most, that these children were coming from poverty, they were coming from troubled homes. And I'd like to think that the girls who find themselves out there, most of them, if not all of them, especially when they're young, it's not because they want to be in the streets. It's not because this is something they want to do. They find themselves there, out there, without knowing what to do. And when they're taken in and told what to do, and it seems like, oh, I'm not the only one. Because you see, even in my film, you see these young girls, the ones that were caught undercover agents. You see them with other small girls. They're brought together and they're in the company of other underage girls. So that when they find themselves in the streets with peers, then they learn to survive because it's survival. Because if you run away from this madam, where are you going to go? You have no home, you have no family, you have nothing. This madam is the only thing that you have. So where do you go? And you can't leave because where are you going to go? So I think these girls are brought to the streets by poverty, by trouble. And when they find this trouble, they have nowhere to go. They just stay there.
We talk of these madams, these women who are trafficking and turning children into sex slaves. Why are they called madams? Where does this name come from?
Well, it's an English word. Madams, according to the dictionary, is um, women who pimp children for sex. It's like they use them, they
Yeah.
exploit them.
And in terms of their profile, is there a particular profile? I mean, you talk of the woman would be older than the girls, of course, so they can gain some kind of trust and respect from the girls. And a lot of them take them in as if to give them some form of shelter and a home as a mom. But is there a specific profile?
Well, I wouldn't say there's a profile.
Mm.
It's they say that it's a thriving industry, you know, in Maai Mahiue. that even when you hear these women talk about what they do, they say that it's very profitable and it's very lucrative. Maai Mahiue is a corridor of transit. It's a transit corridor. So trucks coming from upcountry to the city or through the city pass that road. So they'll be coming from Western, they'll be coming from Rift Valley. They come through that corridor. So there is Naivasha, and it goes all the way to Nakuru, and it goes all the way into Kericho. Now, those areas are where there's tea farms. There's tea, and there's usually bonuses. When there's bonuses that are paid, then you find there's a lot of transit because there's a lot of movement on that corridor. So people come there because when from the sound of what these women say, it is something that happens. It is there's a high demand, and when they come, they ask for children. And even when you listen to the film, there's a clip where this one woman, Nyambura, says that she has repeat clients. And for me, I think the thing that stuck with me was that there are repeat clients. There are people who come and say, find me a child, find me a small girl.
So, in this particular area where you were based, you say that it was a transit destination. But in terms of your findings in the country generally, is Kenya being used for human trafficking or sex trafficking as a destination where the trade is bought in terms of the numbers of the cases being bigger in this particular area, or as a source where girls are taken from, or then a transit destination, or even maybe a combination of all three, where trafficked girls are only there to make a stop and then continue on their journey elsewhere?
I can't speak directly into that because our investigation did not go that far. When we went in, it was really to see if this is, it was like a hypothetical situation. Is this possible? Is this really happening? So we did not delve deep into it. There's also no research to show this. The last research that was done, I think, was done by the US State Department, and they said it was about 330,000 children. But that was over a decade ago. So I can't tell whether it is something that is happening or how big it is. It's just that even when you look at the comments in the YouTube channel on this story, people say that this has been happening. People then even say it's not just in Maai Mahiue. It's happening in Maai Mahiue. It's happening. So I'll mention the corridor of that part. There's Maai Mahiue. There's Longonot. There is Salga. There's Kaptembwa, and you will hear people from this area saying that this is something that has been happening, and they've been wondering what can be done about this. We're even speaking about this, I think is a big issue, and it needs to be talked about, because if we don't talk about it, then these children continue being victimized. The authorities that should be taking care of this, when this story comes out, they're able to find out and see what is being done and see that this is a reality, and they can dig into it and find the people that are culpable.
Kenya has previously been pointed out as a high-risk country for human trafficking by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. Where you were based and what you've seen, how organized was this crime?
Well, I think it's very organized because the women do this very secretively. But I struggle to believe that the authorities are not aware, absolutely not aware, because we know that it's men coming from different parts of the country through this corridor. So I find this very difficult to believe. As it were, unless this morning, I haven't heard of arrest of the women that are shown in the film. That they cannot be found, again, baffles me, right? Because we know our police to find people right in their homes. They can pull you out of your house. So I struggle to believe that the police have not been able to find these two women. Again, there's a previous story I had done about forced children that are being forced in the streets to beg. These children come from Tanzania, and they are brought through the corridor. They are brought through the border of Tanzania and Kenya, and they are handicapped, and they are sold in the streets. Again, it's in plain sight. So it's not possible that the authorities do not know. But is there anything being done? I would say very little, if anything, is being done to stop this. So I'm not sure who's benefiting from all this. I don't think it's just any regular person. I believe that there are people higher in authority that are enabling and allowing this to continue happening.
Just gone 17 minutes past 8 Central African time. We're in conversation with a journalist with the BBC who went undercover to figure out what's going on as far as a town in the Great Rift Valley there of Kenya, where girls as young as 13, are trafficked into sex work as sex slaves. Njeri Mwangi joining us and continuing this conversation on Africa Rise and Shine. As you mentioned that you noticed that some girls were coming from Tanzania and Njeri, how much of a role do neighboring countries play in exacerbating this crime? Those that border Kenya, because we also know the country hosts many refugees from some of these neighboring countries.
Correct. We're known to be a safe haven in the region to provide safety for anyone running away from their countries for any reason. But in my story, I did not talk about girls that are not from Kenya because we did not come across any of those that are not from Kenya. I was referring to a story that I had done before that is called Forced to Beg, that is also on YouTube by the BBC, that showed handicapped children from Tanzania. I'd say the lack of safeguarding children in our respective countries is what is. It has been ignored. We're not protecting our children, and not just as the authorities. I think just as citizens of Africa, we need to do more to protect our children. We need to be able to ensure that they are safe and they are protected and they're not being exploited in any way. Lack of that policy or framework or even implementation and funding then enables all these kinds of vices to continue to thrive. Let me correct you also. I did not go undercover. We have agents who went undercover, so I reported on this story.
All right. Let's talk about the madams again. What did you find in terms of them also and their stories? Are they prior victims to sex trafficking themselves?
Some of them are victims. This is something they have been doing for a very long time. So because they have survived through this, they know that you can survive through this. So they do it and they get girls to do it because they probably came into it when they were young as well. But also in this region, sex is a tool of trade. We talked to some people that told us that if you can give sex, you can get food. If you can give sex, you can get alcohol. If you can give sex, you can get money. So it's a tool of trade, yeah? And it's not just young girls. Anybody's doing it around that area. We were in Naivasha and we talked to some young people, both men and women, who told us that this is what happens and that it's just a state of poverty that leads people to do some of these things.
When you hear from the survivors of this in the country, how do they say they managed to escape? Maybe touch on a few stories. We won't be able to cover all of them, of course.
So in my film, I meet this lady called Baby Girl. Baby Girl talks about how she got into the streets, and she was at it for 40 years before she stopped it. And how she got into the streets, she got married when she was young and she had children, and then she was thrown out by her family and her husband left her. So she was left out in the streets to fend for her children and for herself. She got into it because somebody told her, come, I'll show you how to take care of your children. And because she didn't have a choice, she did. And she succeeded to do this. She got her own clients. She did this on her own terms. But then when she was able to get out of it, because she got older, she's in her 60s now. So she's been doing this for over 40 years. She managed to get out of it, and she decided that she wants to help anybody who doesn't want to do this, who can get out of it, to get out of it. So she talks to them. She provides them with PrEP and PEP. These are pre and post exposure drugs from sex. And then with the girls that she was able to rescue, she was able to take them through school. So if you want to get out of it, she can help, or she was able to help. She's not a rich woman. She's a very ordinary woman. She doesn't have much, but she's very passionate about sex workers in the country. So she's able to provide, and with the help of USAID support, which has now been withdrawn, again, that goes into something else. But that's how she was able to get out, and she's been able to assist anyone who's been wanting to get out, to just give you, either help you find an attachment, help you find another source of income if you don't want to do this. But those who want to do it, I mean, it's a choice. If you want to do it, you can continue to do it.
How much protection exists then for those survivors who managed to escape? What have you seen in terms of your report? Do these madams, have you heard of these madams going out to look for these girls who've escaped? In terms of their safety, how much of a protection do they have?
I think they're pretty safe, in my opinion. Again, it's not something that we delved into because these girls left many years ago. I mean, not many years ago, they left years ago. So, living, these women, these madams can always get other young girls. How they get them, because if you see a girl stranded in the streets and you tell her, come, I can help you, and she comes and she gets help, she stays because she doesn't have any option. They are not all from Maai Mahiue. These girls came from different parts of the country as well. They got a ride into a truck. They were told, this is the end. I can't take you from here. And they were left there. So it's possible, in my opinion, and I speak as Njeri, that it's possible that these men who give them a ride, a lift from different parts of the country, then come and leave them there because they know that they will be taken care of by these madams. Or these madams will find them and they'll give them a safe haven, so to speak, where they can then exploit them. And they know that they will come and find them because they know where they left them.
That U.S. Report, the U.S. Trafficking in Persons report, had noted that in Kenya, as you say, there's not much that's being done about sex trafficking, but they have noted that the country, whether it meets the minimum requirements for the elimination of trafficking remains to be seen. But do you think the government is actually making some kind of effort, even if it's not taking as much of a strong action as it needs to?
Wow, that's a very dicey question right now, because I have seen, as of this morning, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration has denied the claims that this film has produced. He says that this is fake, that this is not true, that this is not happening. And if this is the case, then even as we speak right now, I'm not sure if I will be free today. They might come and arrest me for fake news, right? For fake publication. That said, it just goes to say that there's the reason why it is not, nothing is being done or very little is being done about this. It is underfunded, it is underreported, and as it were, if you report something like this and you're told that it is not true, then why report? So there's people do not report these things because they don't go anywhere. There's no prosecutions. There are no arrests that are made. Then the one who has reported becomes the victim. So you're a double victim. First, what has happened to you, the sexual exploitation, and then now you're being called a liar, and they could throw you in jail in the name of prostitution. Okay, so this is why nothing or very little is being done about it. The Department for Child Services, I don't know what they're doing about it. Okay, the people who are charged with protection of children in any ranking, any position of authority, I don't know what they're doing about it. I hear the governor put a task force to investigate and to rescue these girls and provide them with psychosocial support and even possibly take them back to school. Will this happen? I don't know. I come from a country where our leaders say a lot, they promise a lot, but whether that gets to be done, not really, if at all. It ends at that what has been said in that moment. So it grieves me so much that these girls now are being called liars, that their stories have been invalidated, that the government looks like is not going to do anything about this because they have taken the angle that this is not true and it's not happening.
So, and this is the response you got from government or leadership in the country in terms of when you had brought it forward to alarm the police?
Yes, this is in cabinet. They spoke about it in parliament last night, yesterday evening, and the cabinet secretary said these things. So if that is where the authority comes from, then it just goes down to the police. That is what they can and can't do. Because if it's fake and they're told that it's fake, then there is nothing to investigate. And if there's anyone that is going to be arrested, then that would be me for reporting on this story. And this is just my assumption as at this morning, because this is what I have seen. When I woke up this morning, I have had a lot of forwards and a lot of text about the same.
What tools can people, ordinary Kenyans, use to identify these girls who are being trafficked so as to raise an alarm somewhere, somehow?
I think the moral fabric of our society is torn. We are so broken to the level that I remember when I was growing up, if I misbehaved out in the neighborhood, and a mom in the neighborhood would pinch me, would call me and tell me to behave myself, not just as a girl, but all of us as children. If you were caught beating somebody, if you were caught snatching something from somebody, we were disciplined in the community. What's happening now is that people are minding their business and they're not taking care of children. And if it's just your child, you pull out your child and leave the others out there. I think as a society, we need to go back to what we were. We need to go back to where we were. That village, a child is raised by a village. That's where we need to go back to. People are asking me, what can I do about this? I think we need to keep this conversation going because it's a mirror it's looking at the mirror. It's looking at us as a society. It's determining and deciding that I will not see and something and stay silent. Because where do you speak about this? Speak about it in your neighborhood. Speak about it on social media. We are big on social media. So let's speak about it on social media. We've seen social media, Kenyans on Twitter, make have a lot of impact on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So people need to go online and make this a national conversation. And I'm really grateful that even SABC would take this up. It's all the way in South Africa. Yet here in Kenya, this is something we need to be talking about. We need to think about what can we provide, solutions that we can give so that children are protected at home, in the village, in our churches, in our schools, in our neighborhoods. With the authorities, we need to engage with authorities to make sure that our children are kept safe. And the government then needs to give funding towards that protection, because lack of it then enables the enemy, it enables the perpetrators to thrive. And it continues to make this kind of people, the madams, to continue doing. I believe that they are working with the protection of the police. Now, this is not in my film. This is not something that we investigated and found out, but I can only imagine that for this to thrive, it has to be under some kind of protection. So what makes it a very intricate trade, what makes this a very organized crime is that the people involved, that these women can continue to do this for years. It's not unnoticed. It's because they work with the support of people who are supposed to put them, to arrest them, or people who are supposed to call them out, but they don't.
We are completely out of time, Njeri. I still had so many to ask, so many questions to ask, but we have to leave it there for now. And one wonders, the role of human rights organizations in the country and NGOs, if they have any notable contribution to this fight against sex trafficking. But we thank you so much for shedding light on this matter and the work that you are doing, which is true journalism.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for your time again. Njeri Mwangi is a BBC journalist talking about a situation, a very serious one, where girls are being trafficked and turned into sex slaves. They've compiled a BBC film on this. And I've got so much going on in my mind. I think let me just leave it at that. 8:30 Central African time. Let's say good morning to Onele Nzinzi with our news headlines.
SABC News.